Hello guys, welcome to the next video tutorial on C programming for beginners, and in this video we are going to see how we can use loops in C, and we will start with while loop, how to use while loop in C programming. Now first of all, what are while loops? Or even you may be wondering what are even loops in C. Now as the name suggests, loop is a piece of code which will execute again and again and again until and unless some condition is true. Okay, now for example, we want to print the values of integer from 0 to 10, and we don't want to use printf again and again to print print 1, print 2, or printf 1, printf 2, printf 3. Instead of that, we just want to use one line of code printf, and we want to print from 0 to 10 using the single line of code, which is printf. We can do it by using while loop. Okay, so a loop is something which executes your code again and again and again until and unless some condition is true. Now how to use while loop? So let's use the same example to print 10 numbers. So I will declare int I is equal to 0 as my variable, and then I want to print a number or integers from 0 to 10 or 0 to 9 itself. So while I can use while loop by this keyword while, and then comes your condition, and then comes your curly braces, and inside those curly braces comes your condition. So inside our while loop we want to print the integer 10 times, right? So print f, and then we will say value of I is equal to percentage d, right, comma I. Okay, and in this in these brackets comes your condition. Okay, so we will check whether I is less than 10. If I is less than 10, then we want to execute this code. Okay, and if this I, whenever it goes greater than 10 or like this, we want to go out of this loop. Okay, so this is, or this bracket of while is evaluating our condition. Okay, now we will just give the semicolon to our code, and then we will increment the value of I like this: I is equal to I plus 1. Okay, this expression I is equal to I plus 1 you can write in short by writing I plus plus. Okay, so there are two ways of incrementing the value of I, like this: I is equal to I plus 1, or you can do I plus plus. It's same as I is equal to I plus 1. So we will use I plus plus for now. Okay, and then let's try to compile our code. So what it's doing, it's checking this condition. If this condition is true, it will print this, but because I will never be true, because first of all I is equal to 0, and this condition in this case what I have written will never be true. I is equal to 0, which is not greater than 10, then this loop will never be executed. Why? Because this condition is not true at the first place, so this code will not execute. Okay, so let's see what happens when we compile and run the code. and nothing happens, and this is what we were expecting. But when we check I is less than 10, then because the value of I is equal to 0, it goes to this while, and it goes to check this condition whether 0 is less than 10, and it will say yes, 0 is less than 10. Then execute this code, which will print 0 and then increment the value of I by 1, which is 0 plus 1 is equal to 1, and then it will do it again and again until this condition is met. So let's try compile and run the program, and we can see the value of I is equal to 0, value of I is equal to 1, but I forgot to give the line break. So we will give this line break from here, and then once again we will run the code like this. So it has printed value of I is equal to 0 in the starting, and then value of I is equal to 1, then value of I is equal to 2, 3, 4 until I is equal to 9. Okay, so what's happening here? At the first place, the value of I, we have declared it as 0. So it goes to a while loop and it checks this condition that 0 is less than 10. So it goes inside this loop because the condition is true, and it prints this message value, this should be value of I is equal to whatever the value of I is 0 right now. So it will print I is equal to 0, and then we are increasing the value of I by 1, right? I plus plus is equal to I is equal to I plus 1. So now the value of I becomes 1, and it goes once again to check this condition whether I is less than 10. So the value of I is equal to 1, which is less than 10. Once again it will print value of I is equal to 1 and increment the value of I by 1, which is 2. Once again it goes again and again until and unless I becomes 10 here. So when I becomes 10 here, it will go here and see 10 is not less than 10. So it will not print any code here because this condition is not true, and then it goes out of the loop. So this is what happening in this code, right? So once again run this code, and it will run and it will print 0 to 9. Now for example, you want to print until 10, we can just write if I is less than or equal to 10, then print this code. So this expression is I is less than or equal to 10. Okay, so run the program, and now this prints from 0 to 10. Okay, so once again, a loop is something which iterates or executes your code again and again until and unless some condition is true. So in the case of while loop, the condition is this thing we have provided, and it will execute again and again until and unless this condition is met. Hello guys, welcome once again. In the last video, I have shown you how you can use loops in C, and I have shown you how you can use while loop in C. Now in this video, we are going to see how we can use do while loop, which is one more kind of loop, and what is the difference between do while loop and while loop. Okay, so let's assume that we want to execute the number or integers from 0 to 10 as we have done in the last video, but this time we want to do it with the do while loop. Okay, so this was the code we have written in the last video, which I'm going to comment because later in the video we will see how or what is the difference between do while loop and while loop. So let's see what is the syntax of do while loop first. So you just write a keyword do and then give this semicolon, and after this semicolon at the end of your curly braces, this is not semicolon, this is curly braces, sorry, and at the end of your curly brace you just write while, it should be while, and then you give your condition. Okay, so keyword do and then curly brace, then while, then your condition. Now once again, for example, we want to print values of integer from 0 to 10. I'm going to copy this code in here and it will print the value 0 to 10, and the condition will be same as earlier, which is while I is less than or equal to 10. Okay, and I will just compile this program and run the program, and it prints the values 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 10, right? And in here what's happening is, first of all, your I is equal to 0 and it says do. Do means do something. So before checking any condition, your statement will be executed, which is this one. So it prints I is equal to 0 and then it increases I by 1, and now our value of I is 1, which is less than 10, right? So it goes in the loop once again and it prints I is equal to 1, and in here it increases the value of I is by 1 once again, so I is equal to 2 this time. Then 2 is less than or equal to 10, which is true. Once again it will go in this loop until I is equal to 10. Now I is equal to 10, this will be true and this will be printed. But now when the value of I becomes 11, this is false, this condition is false, and as soon as this condition is false, it goes out of the loop. Okay, so what is the difference between this do while loop and while loop? The difference is, while whenever we use while loop, it checks the condition first and then executes your code. But in the do while loop, it executes your code at least once and then checks your condition, and if this condition is true, it will once again go into the statement here and it will execute a statement, and as soon as this statement is false, it goes out of the loop. Okay, so do loop or do while loop executes your code at least once without checking the condition, but while loop checks the condition first and then executes the code. Now let's see what is the basic difference here. So for example, I will just give the separator, or I will print some separator here so that we know that the code above this star line is for do while loop and code below the star line is for while loop, right? And I will compile this program, and everything is fine. It prints from 0 to 10, which is okay, and because value of I is the same here, right? So here value of I will be 10 once again. So what we are going to do is, here we will take, instead of I, we will take variable j in while loop. So j here, I will replace j here, and j, value of j is equal to j plus plus, right? Why I have done that? Because the value of, otherwise the value of I will be same for this and this, and we will never find the difference between the two loops. Once again, I will run the program and it prints this value. I forgot j here, so I must give j here also, and once again I will compile the code. And now you can see it prints the value of first of all I, and then it prints the value of j. Okay, so it starts from a 0. I will just make it bigger so that we can see all the values. So the value of I starts from 0 up to 10, and value of j starts from 0 up to 10. My battery is going, so I must hurry up, I think. So right, so value of I starts from 0 to 10, and the value of j starts from 0 to 10. Now let's see the difference here. Now for example, I will give some condition which is not true. Okay, so for example, I am checking whether I is greater than 10, which is not true because value of I is 0. 0 is not greater than 10, right? And in this case also value of j is greater than 10 we are checking, which is false because value of j is 0, which is not greater than 10. J is not greater than 10. What happens here? Run the code and we see that value of I is equal to 0, which is it prints value of I is equal to 0, and then it increments the value of I by 1, so I becomes 1. 1 is not greater than 10, so it goes out of the loop. So what we have seen, that do loop performs your statement at least once and then checks the condition. But in the case of while loop here, j is equal to 0, 0 is not greater than 10, so nothing is executed from this while loop. Okay, so nothing is printed here. So this is the difference between while loop and do while loop. So always remember, whenever you want to execute your code at least once, use do while loop, and whenever you want to check the condition first and then execute your code, then use while loop. So I hope you have understood the basic concept of do while loop.